Well, thank you guys for listening. For my research podcast presentation, I'm going to be talking about the Fugitive Slave Law of 1850, which was one of the most controversial and harmful laws in American history. This law said that people who escaped from slavery had to be returned to their enslavers, even if they were found living in free states. Not only that, but it also forced regular citizens, like local officials and even judges in the North, to help return people to slavery, whether they wanted to or not. This was against their own will. But what really stood out to me in my research was the resistance, both from enslaved people, free Black communities, and even some of the state governments pushing back against the law in big and small ways. Their courage and determination helped bring some more attention to fight against slavery and help bring the country closer to the Civil War. Why I chose this topic. I chose this topic because it connects law, politics, and personal bravery. At first, I just wanted to know about the fugitive slave law and what it really was. But the more I kept reading, I became more interested in how people responded to it and how they wanted to help. The law was clearly unfair, and it caused pain for so many people, but what inspired me was how people fought back. Escaped slaves risked everything for freedom. Some people stood up to the government, and even judges and lawyers found ways to resist using the legal system. I realized that this story wasn't just about a law, it was about people who refused to stay silent in the face of injustice. Why does this topic matter in African American history? This topic is a powerful part of American history because it shows both the cruelty of slavery and the strength of those who resisted it. Enslaved people weren't just sitting around waiting to be freed. Many of them were making brave decisions every day, like running away, fighting in court, or even seeking help from Black and white allies. Their stories help us understand how resistance to slavery happened long before the Emancipation Proclamation or the Civil War. Also, this law helps explain why the North and the South became so divided. It forced northern states to choose. Either they follow a federal law that they believed was wrong, or they fight back to make a change. That conflict only grew stronger over time and pushed the country toward war. Some things that I learned and some 5 key takeaways. While reading books and articles from my annotated bibliography, I found 5 major insights that helped me understand this topic a little bit better. One, we're going to look at Blackett's book, The Captive's Quest for Freedom, which explains how enslaved people who escaped didn't just disappear in the North. They made their escapes public. They weren't scared of anyone to see. This even reached a point that these stories reached the national news. It pushed northern communities to organize and forced the government to respond. Their bravery their bravery created a ripple effect that changed politics for the long run. Another one was law and morality that were being in conflict. Alfred Proffi's article shows how the law caused serious moral questions for judges and legal officials. Following the law meant sending people back into slavery, but ignoring the law meant breaking federal rules. This put people, especially in the North, in a really tough spot. Many started questioning whether the law should be followed at all. Then we're going to look at Stanley Campbell's book, which was called The Slave Catchers. This book talks about how the law was carried out. There were slave catchers, federal agents, and even local police working together to capture escaped slaves. Some towns went along with it, but others resisted, which eventually led to being really violent. This created real tension between the federal government and local communities. Fourth, we're going to look at Kevin McCullen. He's going to write about his poems like Walt Whitman and how Walt Whitman is responding to the law. At first, Whitman didn't say much, but over time, he became more outspoken and courageous in how his poems used to protest what the law represented. This shows that cultural voices play big roles in fighting back. Last but not least, we're going to look at Peter Wignert's article explaining how the law failure actually hurt the South. Instead of trying to help it, they ended up hurting it in the long run. When the law wasn't always enforced, many Southern leaders felt the federal government couldn't be trusted to protect slavery. This loss of faith became some Southerners' push even harder for recession. It helped lead the country toward the Civil War. Doing this research, it made me think differently about the role of law in history and in our world today, actually. At first, I thought laws were supposed to protect us, but now I see that laws can actually end up harming people, especially when they're created by people in power without concern for actual justice, which unfortunately we're dealing with now. What inspired me most was seeing how ordinary people pushed back against the law. Enslaved people who ran, free black people who protected them, and even judges who found legal loopholes to help them out. All of them took risks to stand up for what was right. This made me realize how important courage and resistance is. Even when the system is against you, you have to make a change. It also helps me think more critically about the laws and systems we have today and how we can all speak up when something feels wrong. To wrap things up, researching the Fugitive Slave Law of 1850 helped me understand how one law created huge conflicts across the country that we didn't think was going to happen, and how acts of resistance, both big and small, helped move the country toward justice. This story is about more than just history. It's about people who risk their lives for freedom and people who choose to fight for others when they don't have to. This really was a very impactful story for me, and I hope you guys learned something too.